with Mr. Marcinko. So just keeping up with him.
Oh. At least I'm not fighting his battles with
yeah, that's what
the county. Man, I tried to help him out, but it didn't seem to work very well. I got told to leave it alone.
So just for we had one new person join, or as people come in and join, I've got a message in the chat there. We'll start at 10 just because people are taking a break. That's their scheduled time, and so we'll kind of kick things off at that point.
These people should realize it. Training is important, right, Stephanie? Training is important.
I've actually got a little video message to kind of kick off the training part, but we'll wait right till still a couple more minutes. We'll kick it off with that. Just for the folks that are here, I know we had the panel discussion was really around, there were a lot of questions around scouting safely and getting units back out. And so, I'm not an expert in all of those areas, but I am the assistant scoutmaster for troop here in Marietta, and also the committee chair for a venturing unit. Me and a handful of scouters started a new venturing unit starting in 2019. So our first year was through the pandemic, so that was kind of interesting. We've had to adjust, but both of those units have been on several outings, both as units as well as council events. And I can give you my experience with that. I was a staffer at winter camp this year. And then we've been on venturing outings and also just our unit outings from that standpoint. So if there's any questions at the end of this or discussion, I've got a little presentation we'll go through and to kind of share a little bit of information in case you don't know how to get it, where you can go find it. We'll do a little bit of learning today, and then we'll open it up for questions. And so all questions will be open from either my experience as a scouter over the past year with those two units, as well as I also participated in a training event, which during the pandemic, which was handled very well. I was a staffer on a training event, so I can answer any of those kind of questions if you're interested in understanding what that looks like. And that was a while back. Our situation is a little bit better now, but I think we're still following the same kind of rules. So just another minute or two here and we'll get started.
Yeah, I think through this whole time, I'm surprised I still have skin on my fingers from washing so much.
Yeah. You have to watch out which one. I noticed the breweries and the distilleries that started making the hand sanitizers, theirs burn a little bit more than the traditional hand sanitizer guys. So those will dry your skin out a little faster. So you have to be careful which ones you put. Of course, for a while there, we it was beggars couldn't be choosers, right? It was whatever we could get. So it was a little bit of a shortage there early days. So
it's all that alcohol, it just tears you up.
Yeah. Just takes the oil off your skin, and that's what keeps it together. So
Hey, Lee.
Hey.
You remember me?
How are you? I do remember you. Glad to see you today.
Nice to see you too. What crew number is that you started?
Crew 2992.
All right.
It's based out of the Post 29 VFW in Marietta, and it's known as an international. It's focused. So a lot of times venturing crews have a focus. It's international crews focused on international scouting. So we had international trips planned before the pandemic. Obviously that all got shut down really hard, and that's going to be a while before that opens back up. We're getting back to regular scouting here in our community, but it's going to be a little bit longer before that opens back up. So we've been focusing on regular kind of local community scouting stuff. But that was what the crew was started about. Like I said, we started in 19. We were going to the International Scout Camp in Switzerland, so that was the plan, and we've had to punt that down the road. But it's a very large crew. There are a lot of Georgia Tech students in it, as well as a lot of dual registered scouts. So a lot of Scouts BSA, both male and female, are a part of that crew. Some of Kess's troop is in there, and some from 1011, and from 433. So there's a lot there. So, all right, well, it's 10:01. We'll get started.
All right.
So let me introduce myself really quickly. My name's Lee Miller, if it wasn't evident from all the literature that you have. And as I mentioned, I'm Assistant Scoutmaster in Troop 433 at Holy Family Catholic Church in the Foothills District. And I'm also the committee chair for Venturing Crew 2992. And I'm the training chair for the Foothills District. I work with Stephanie Evervescent. Stephanie is with us today as a moderator. And if I can't answer the question, then I know she can. So she helps me out with just about everything that I do in my adult scouting life. And what I've put together today, I'm willing to answer any questions that we have at the end. I have put together a quick video for us to take a look at, just as a kind of an icebreaker. And then I've got some slides that we'll go through, and the slides employ a little bit of learning. I always believe we want to train or learn something. So if you haven't had exposure to a barcode and how you use that on your phone, there'll be an opportunity to use that today, as well as, you'll have access to all this information, and maybe it'll drive some additional questions as we go forward. So give me just a second here, and I'm going to get my video started. So the desktop, so you guys can see that. I'm going to make it big and play. You guys see that? Can you hear it?
I don't hear anything.
Okay, stop. That's the one thing I forgot to do.
I don't hear it on.
It's one thing I forgot to do. When you pick share, you have to pick share sound. So that will get fixed here in just a second. How about that?
Follow. In scouting, we have great programs in place to ensure we deliver on the promise of scouting, and training is one of those great programs. It's easy to have fun when you know the safe and right way to do it. If we don't teach the scouts the right way to do it, we'll get their interpretation of what we ask for. Like, what's a proper flag ceremony look like? How do you take it up and put it down? Proper way to store a flag. How to set up a campsite, pitch a tent. Do we know the safe way to hang a hammock? Or are there dangers involved with that? Proper way to clean up after a meal. Or will just any old water source do? How do we build and tend a fire and use the tools properly to allow us to do that? Do we have the proper respect for fire? And do we know how to control it and maintain and manage it? Let's learn the proper way and give each scout the trained leader they deserve.
Okay, that worked. You got to hear that and see that from that standpoint. All right, let me get out of that particular one. And then I've got a few slides here that we can walk through. I'll share that. Put this in. All right, we worked on this earlier. Did I get it right?
Mhm.
Can you see the training slide?
Yes.
Okay, and you see the big one, you don't see my second one. So that's where that video is located. And I'll be glad if you'll send me your email. I'll be glad to send you this this presentation deck. So again, I just wanted to have something that would help me to walk through all the points that I wanted to make sure that we captured today from a training standpoint. So the slides that are here are a bit generic, and they'll help us find the information that we need. And then again, at the end, I think there's plenty of time for questions and answers for this group. So the way that I've put this together on these slides is really just to talk specifically about the position requirements. So there's really specific training around what position you have in scouting. Focus those on Cub leaders and Scouts BSA leaders and venturing and Sea Scouts leaders, and then talk a little bit about supplemental training and advanced training and my experience in those. And so the way that we can do that, one of the ways that, and I can make sure we're sharing that information, and here's the bit of the learning part today, which is, I don't know how many of you may or may not be familiar with barcodes. We all buy stuff at the store. When we buy them out in the marketplace, we see people scanning those through a laser. That really is called it's referred to in the marketplace as a UPC code, or some people call them a 1D barcode, because it just has one dimension. If you scan straight across the dimension, it'll actually record the number. So it's taking that visual, little laser scanners taking that visual, and it's then, recording that number. So this little matrix that you see on the right hand side, you've probably seen those before. They've been around for a number of years, and they're becoming more and more prevalent. You might have even seen some at the beginning of the commercials that we had. But it's called the 2D barcode, and it really has to scan both horizontally and vertically to get all the information associated with it. And so what I've done today to make it easy is, if you happen to have your phone, and I've tested this on many occasions and it's worked well. If you have your phone and you just have the camera turned on, almost all modern smartphones will automatically read the barcode through the camera. So when you hold your phone up you turn your camera on, you hold it up to the barcode, it should ask you at the bottom, do you want to go to this URL? Do you want to go to this website? So each one of the slides that I have, or the topics that I have today, has a 2D barcode on it, and it can take you straight to it. So if you see something that you need, or you need to follow up on, it's a quick way to grab it and store it into your phone. And then of course, I'll make all this available at the end of it. So I lead a team of engineers and technicians and staff at a machinery manufacturing facility. I work for a company called WestRock, and we always say safety's first. And so safety is first in both my professional life and in my scouting life. And one of the pieces of safety is really around youth protection. That's the first piece. So there's a lot of things that we do to scout safely, but youth protection is the first one. And really, you want to make sure that all of the leaders in your unit, and really all the parents, if they're doing driving, we really recommend that everyone take youth protection. It's a great program. It's very well produced, and it has been reviewed by many professionals in that area of youth protection, and they've really recognized the scouting one as being one of the top ones. So I strongly recommend that you have your units and your parents, and even when we get in the venturing crew, we ask everyone to really be youth protected from that standpoint as they get to those older ages. And those stuff that becomes very important. So there's your link to that one. Typically you get that through, you can go online and do that and get a My Scouting account, and that's where that'll lead you, is to help you get to that My Scouting account and set that up if you don't have it already. The next one that I wanted to hit on was, we talked about the position specific. So each of the scouter positions that are in scouting in these various disciplines, whether it's Cub Scouts or Scouts BSA, venturing, or Sea Scouts, there is a clear outline on what the position specific requirements are. And so a way you can find that information is this particular website that you can access, and it'll either, it'll pull up all of the various ones. You can scroll through and find out what it is. But you ever have a question around what's required for a Cub Master or an assistant Cub Master, den leader, Scout Master, merit badge counselor, on into venturing committee and the venturing advisor, and then the Sea Scout positions. So there's information and sheets that are out there that'll tell you exactly how and where to go get each one of those units or each one of those training modules. And many of those are available online, and there's easy access to get those through your My Scouting account. And some of them are required they're required that you be in person. So that was one of the ones that I talked about. I was on staff earlier. We'll hit on that one really quickly. So starting with Cub Scouts, a couple of key things on that one for position specific, and this one gets ignored. The top one that I had there gets lost a little bit sometimes, because as the chair in the Foothills District, I'm constantly looking at the training records and looking at units. I've spent many times during the pandemic looking at units and where people needed training, and send emails to a lot of folks. You may have seen something from me, or if you're not clear, you can always get back to me, and I'll be glad to reach out and review your unit or get you a report. But hazardous weather is one of the things that typically gets kind of lost in the shuffle. Folks think they're trained to be a unit leader who's working with youth and going outdoors, and hazardous weather is an important one. That's an online one that you can do. It really just talks about making sure you know how to get shelter and get people in the right place when there are hazardous situations. So it's a good one in general when you're in the woods to have that one, but we want to get as many people under that one as we possibly can. So I had it first. Position specific is really around, what you're going to be doing working with youth and how you're going to help them grow. And so the two that are really key for a Cub Scout leader that are working with youth is the position specific classroom training, which you can do most of that online, or there are in-person ones, but it's really easy and simple to do the online one. There are in-person ones available, and if that's more accommodating to you, I encourage you to look for one of those. And there's a couple posted in the training on the training website on the Atlanta Area Council. And then the last one is called Baloo, which is really your outdoor training. And so you have to have Baloo training before you take a unit. There have to be one or two adults that have to be Baloo trained before taking a unit out in the woods. And the real purpose of that is to make sure that we do deliver on the promise of scouting, and that it's done safely, and that the scouts have a great experience. And so as you can imagine, Scouts BSA looks very similar. They're just different types of training, because the scouts can now do they're different programs. And so under your your position specific, the classroom training, if you will, or the online training, you're going to learn more about how that particular program is run and the specifics to it. And then on the outdoor skills training, Baloo and ISLES are very similar, and a lot of times we found that it works really well to train them together. So you may see that those training events happen at the same time, but the classrooms are broken apart, and the people who are focused on Cub outdoor trainer or Baloo, and the people who are focused on Scouts outdoor training or ISLES, they'll be in different classes as a part of it. And there's a little bit of overlap where they come together. But the key on that one, again, is really making sure that you're learning what scouts can do in the outdoors, depending on their age and what program they're in. And you actually get to practice a lot of those skills. So it's a real practical training that usually happens over a weekend. It usually takes Friday, Saturday, and then you're usually home by Sunday afternoon, evening. Chartered org representative training is another one that you want to, as a unit leader, make sure that your chartered org representative is focused on where they need to be and what they need to do. That's an online training that they can get. Talking about venturing, venturing is a little bit different in that it would fall into the Scouts BSA for the outdoor piece, or the ISLES training for the outdoor piece. You probably saw that logo there. But the venturing advisor position specific training, the advisor is really the person who's working with the youth and helping them make good decisions and keeping them safe. And then the crew committee is really the adults who are making sure that there's a good program for that unit. And that's where you can find that information. Very valuable from a venturing standpoint. So that's really the position specific pieces. I also wanted to call out the opportunity for, when we think about training, we think about it in the basic training, which is what we just talked about, supplemental training, which many of these or most of these are, and then advanced training. And so if we think about supplemental training, there's a lot that's available online that you can anybody can take through the My Scouting account. And I recommend a lot of these if you're leading a unit and you're doing a lot of activity. There's information on safe swim defense. There's a lot of work that when you go to summer camp or you go to camp, you'll see how the swimming programs run. There's a lot of specifics around that. And people ask me all the time, can I do my own swimming event as a unit or as a troop? And there's a lot of specifics around how you need to do that safely. You can do that. And you'll get that information from Safe Swim Defense. It's very similar with safety afloat. There are a lot of specific programs and specific safety rules that we need to follow when we get in canoes and kayaks and paddle boards. And that information is online by taking the safety afloat module. Climb On Safely is the same thing around what kind of training do you have to have a climbing event, and trekking, weather hazards, and the merit badge counselor. We're always looking for merit badge counselors in the Atlanta Area Council. And that can also, there's some training associated with that on how you become a merit badge counselor, and that information can be found at your myscouting.org account as well. So moving to advanced training, the first one that I wanted to talk about, make sure that everyone was aware of, this is not necessarily an adult training, but it is a very important part of building good scouting units. And it's really around NYLT. And it's for anything that's for scouts that are really 14 and above. So even if you're in Scouts BSA, the younger scouts, you really need to be first class or be at 14 before you go and participate in this. This is a premier leadership program for Boy Scouts of America, in that it really teaches the youth how to lead a unit and how to participate and work with others in a very, very professional and exciting way. I can tell you from experience that both my scouts, one's an Eagle Scout, one's a Life Scout, they both went to NYLT, and they were very excited when they came home. I think they had one of the best times in their scouting experience. And that's generally the comment you get from every single scout that I've ever seen participate in this, in that it's very exciting, dynamic. They keep it fast paced. And they really build a great camaraderie. So it's a very different event than going to summer camp or anything like that. It's much akin to what we do as scouters in Wood Badge. There's a lot of close similarities in the type of training. It's obviously tailored for youth, but encourage you to think about how you ensure that once you get scouts to that right age and that right place, that we get them into NYLT. And then you can see there are several sessions that are going on throughout this year. And some of those, actually, I can tell you right now, I think sessions 1 and 2 are full, and sessions 3, 4, and 5 are filling up. So that was the last time that I looked at that. Stephanie, if you have different information than that, please let me know. But that was when we were communicating with our unit, we were telling them to go target session 3, 4, and 5 from that standpoint. But I highly recommend NYLT. And also, if you're so inclined as an adult leader, if you want to participate, I know that they're always looking for great scouters to come and be adult leaders as a part of that program. So I hope to do that. I haven't done that yet, but I hope to do that one day soon. So next one is Wood Badge. Everybody's seen, you probably saw in the beginning of that part, Wood Badge. Wanted to make sure that everybody had a chance and opportunity to see what is really the premier leadership for adult leaders in Scouts BSA. And in really all Boy Scouts. So it's really available to all programs from Cub through Scouts BSA and venturing and Sea Scouts. And those are the dates for Wood Badge for the courses. I don't have information on which ones are full or not, but we can talk about that, or we can find more information about that as we get into the conversation section. But wanted you to have the opportunity and understand that I've both participated in Wood Badge and been a staffer. It's a great experience for either one of those, and encourage you to, target those leaders in your organization that are really excited about the program and looking forward to growing and learning. And it's something beyond just scouting. It really helps you in your personal life. It helps you in your professional life. in that there are a lot of lessons that are applicable to all of our persons and how we interact with others and how we work with groups of people that go far beyond scouting. But it's a great program that scouting puts on, and really enjoyed my time in Woodbadge. I think this may be close to the last one. And this one is really around, again, advanced training. This one is about Powderhorn. If you haven't heard of Powderhorn, it's about doing high adventure. So Woodbadge, while it's around teaming and professional development and how to lead, Powderhorn is really about the fun and outing and scouting and how exciting it can be to plan high adventure trips and take people, take scouts and take adult leaders on high adventure trips. And this particular training is also like NYLT, it's open to scouts 14 and older. So we see a lot of youth come to this training, and you basically spend time learning how to plan a high adventure trip, whether that's on the water or trekking or hiking. We do horseback riding. We've done balloon lifts in the past. So this one's really fantastic. And I happen to be on staff for this particular one for 2021. We did not do a course in 2020 because of the pandemic, but that course has been moved to 2021. And one of the exciting things about it is we spend it's weekend. It's 3 different weekends, really just Saturday and Sunday program. And we do that at each one of the Atlanta area properties. And so there's a different array of exciting activities and planning associated with each one of those. And that's how you can find more information about Powderhorn. And that one's filling up quick. So we had a lot of transfer of people who were going to do it last year. So there are open slots, and we're looking for folks who want to come and do, if you've never done Powderhorn, come and do that because it's pretty exciting. This next one was around general health and safety. So there's a link here associated with general scouting, health and safety. And I think the next slide has a little bit about the SAFE. We talked a bit about, you know, how do we work in the pandemic, and what are the rules that we need to have in place. And so there's a lot of safety checklists associated with that can be found at this particular location. It's on the website, and there are resources there, and it talks about some of the things that we're doing in the pandemic. There's a check sheet just like this for how do you have a safe event? How do you conduct a safe event? What are the pieces that are in place? And then some of the other things that we continue to see is what are the requirements for, and what can scouts do? And so there's a lot of information there about on that training site about what kind of age group and what kind of limits are associated with tools. So this chart that I have on the right hand side is much bigger than the one you're looking at, but it really goes into, you know, what kind of tools can lions and tigers handle, from just yard tools and from woodworking tools and painting and things like that. And so it really breaks down where the youth can participate in either a service project, or if you're doing something at camp or during a unit outing. A lot of information on that website about that. And then the next one is really around what are the kind of activities, again, another link to health and safety, and what kind of activities and what kind of program are the activities allowed to do. So you can see there lions, tigers, through Webelos or Era of Light Scouts, Scouts BSA, and then the older Scouts programs, and what they're allowed to do from an outdoor standpoint, all the way down to what kind of shooting sports they can participate in, and what kind of tools they can use. That's there as well. And you can grab those and save them as PDFs, or you can print them out so that you make sure you're there from that standpoint. So that's what I had to go through today, just to share with you guys. And I'm willing to, if you want to put your email in the chat, I'll send you that information so you have it. And with that, just want to open it up for questions and any kind of dialogue or conversation that you guys want to have with respect to training or my experiences as a scout leader in the Atlanta Area Council.
I was wondering about the IELTS training. When you do IELTS, where do you have to go for that, and how's that set up?
So you talk about the actual registering for it or the training itself?
Both, because I really haven't seen a lot about it, and I know that when I checked our training, none of our leaders have it, I don't think.
Okay, so IELTS training is we conduct it at the Atlanta Area Council level. So there's a couple of ways you can get it. You can get it at the district level in different districts, and you can go to any district. So if Silver Comet, for example, they're one of the districts that's really close to us here in Cobb County. If they're conducting an IELTS course, you can go to their IELTS course. So there's a lot of ways to look about it from that standpoint. So any district, because the course is taught the same just about anywhere you go. But in the Atlanta Area Council, we tend to drive towards a couple of IELTS and Baloo training events, one in the spring and one in the fall. And so there's a link in that presentation that I had, and I'll be sure to send you that information. But you can go on the Atlanta Area Council website and find the place where you click on there, and you can go to that one, which I believe is in May. I think it's end of.
It's the second week in May. There is a wait list for IELTS already. It's already
There's a wait
full.
list.
But
So
you
now
can
there's
get on the wait
Hey,
list.
Lee, the other thing you can do is sign up for summer camp at Burt Adams, and each and every week there is an IELTS course.
that was the next thing. That was the next opportunity would be at summer camp. So if you have now, you got to watch your adults. You can't really go to IELTS and leave your troop free, right? You got to have your extra adults there going to IELTS at summer camp, and they can be with the troop in the evening and stuff. But you do have to still, you can't just have one leader there, or two leaders there. You don't want to leave your unit hanging, but you can go to IELTS at summer camp. Those are taught very well. And then there'll be an IELTS course that the Atlanta Area Council puts on in the fall. And those are available on the training calendars and on the website. You can see where those are if you go to summer camp, whether Burt Adams or Woodruff, they both have those programs. But then you can also look, if that doesn't work for your schedule, you can look around the Atlanta area and find where other districts have got the IELTS courses going, and you can go to any of those. You just want to make sure you get your training card. So when you do it in the Atlanta Area Council, we've got your number, and we know that happens. But if you go outside or outside of the district, you want to make sure you get your training card, and then you forward that back to your training coordinator and make sure that gets put in the system. So you get recorded for that.
Is it primarily outdoors?
It is primarily outdoors. Yeah, that's the second part of it. So I forgot. I talked so long that I forgot about the second part of your question, which was, what does it look like? And really what it looks like is a camping event. So when we do them on scout properties, they can be done in various places, right? That you could have it at just a park. There's places where people reserve areas and do them. So different councils do them different ways. We typically end up doing them on scout properties. And when we do that, it's basically a weekend camping event. So you're going to come to that event prepared to spend the night. And there will be a set course of training activities that occur throughout each of the 2 days. It's typically done by noon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday. So Saturday's a pretty full day where you'll go through learning how to really safely conduct the scouting program. And it includes, you get fed as a part of it. Typically you get fed as a part of it. It depends. You got to pay attention, because sometimes if you go outside a district, they handle it a little bit different. But in the Atlanta Area Council, we feed you and we take care of all of that. But you really learn about how to cook a meal. How do you put together good meal programs for conducting the scouting program, as well as cleanup associated with that, the 3-bin method, the proper way to make sure you clean up after that. And then how to set up a tent. So there's time spent looking at how do you select a campsite? How do you set up a campsite? What are the important things associated with that? As we're conducting and training scouts on how to use wood tools, there's a whole section on that. So there's quite a bit that you actually do that's hands-on outdoors. And they're usually a lot of fun. There's a lot of camaraderie with the other scouts, and you get to meet people and build your network, and it's really enjoyable. So I would be glad to talk to anyone who's interested in going to IELTS or understanding anything better about it. And but when you sign up, typically you'll get a packet that'll tell you what all the information is that you need and what the weekend's going to look like, or what that event's going to look like. I think they break it up at summer camp a little bit differently. It probably is spread out across 5 days, and you just do your regular camping thing, and you go to class every day as a part of that. But if you go to a weekend event, a regular intensive IELTS, Baloo's the same. It's both for the it's very similar for Baloo. There's just some different program differences because you're training for different age youth, and the programs are slightly different. So, but that's what that looks like. Did that get it? Did that answer your question?
Yeah, pretty good. Now, is that something that I need to send my older leaders who come up through the ranks, like who have been going camping with their Cub Scouts and then going camping with their Boy Scouts? Because I'm doing a crew now, and a lot of the leaders that are coming through, they have been camping a lot with those units. However, they've never been to the aisle. They never got the official training.
Yeah, so if you're in a Scouts BSA or venturing, so you might have had Baloo or you might have been camping with Cubs. If you're in a Scouts BSA or a venturing crew or a ship, you need to have a couple of people who have been through that trained IELTS program. If you're wearing the Assistant Scoutmaster badge, you definitely want to have everybody that's done that has been through that training. That doesn't mean that they can't participate in scouting. If you got one person who's been through the training and you got a couple more Scoutmasters that are there that haven't done it yet, that's okay. But there really should be a goal for everyone who's taking scouts out into the woods and doing camping events. You should really have had either Baloo and or if you're moved into the Scouts BSA program IELTS. So definitely that's a great question, and you definitely want to send those guys. And you only have to do it once. It's not a reoccurring. You don't have to do it over and over again. It's a one-time training. And to your point, sometimes folks feel like it's a lot of extra training. What else what am I going to learn? I already know how to do all this stuff. I think the Scouts program does a great job of adapting to what Scouts need and adapting to the environment that we're in. And so it changes slightly. So anytime you go, you're going to learn something new. Plus it's a great time just to be had with Scouters, and who doesn't want to just go? It's really just a camping trip is really what it is, with some learning. And those things are great for me anyway. So encourage anybody to do that.
Yeah, and really quickly, IELTS is actually part of position specific training for all assistant Scoutmasters and Scoutmasters. Without IELTS, you're not trained.
Yeah, and see, that's our thing. We had a lot of guys who you have like your two deep leadership. So you have the one trained leader, but the other untrained leader was going and learning a lot of the stuff. And then just seemed like they been involved with our unit for 10 plus years, but they did everything but IELTS. And then they got to now they're working with my crew as my assistant advisors. And I was thinking, how urgent do I need to get?
Yeah, you want to get them trained because they can't market. So, but I also tell people, I don't want to stop a unit from going camping. If you got one IELTS trained guy and another guy who's not trained yet, they can go camping, but you want to get that other guy trained as soon as you can. So, because you can't mark them fully trained, and that's the number in your unit. And you're not 100%. You should have a goal to get to 100% trained for all your adult leaders, especially youth contact. So, and that's definitely a youth contact position as the Assistant Scoutmaster.
Yeah.
So get those guys signed up. Let me know how I can help you do that.
Yeah, and hopefully, like I said, I didn't know we'd go outside the district because that's going to be the issue, just trying to get people into one of the classes.
Yeah. Well, the key is make sure you get that card. If you go outside anywhere, make sure they get their card at the end of it. Stay till the end. At graduation, they'll hand you out that little card with the course that you went to and where you attended it, and that's the important part. And then we can get that in the system, and you get credit for it from a training standpoint.
Okay.
Great questions. Thank you.
Can our 18-year-old unit college scout or reserve youth or adult leaders, I should say, can they take that as well?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm seeing Stephanie. So that's the first time I've been asked that question. So
Great.
they should take it if they're going to be, again, in an assistant. And it's a little different to learn how to teach than it is to be a scout. So even though they're 18 and they might have been a scout, you want them to, if they're going to be an assistant scoutmaster, registered with the unit.
Well, they're not assistant scoutmasters; they're unit college scout or reserve, but
okay,
they can still
yeah,
take that.
They can take it, absolutely. If you're in, anybody that's in scouts can take it.
Okay, wasn't sure of the age. And you also said Powderhorn is for youth as well as adults.
Absolutely, and we break that up. The way that gets conducted from a Powderhorn standpoint is we build crews, or we build kind of like dens, if you're or patrols, if you will. It's called crews in venturing, and Powderhorn kind of grew out of the venturing program. So we create crews in that course, and we create adult crews and we create youth crews. And so the youth crews are usually led by a more mature youth. So we try to make a connection there. So the adult crews will be led by adults, and then the youth crews are typically led by youth. So it's a great, they get to be with their own kind. They don't want to always, that's the age group where, they like to learn and from people close to their own age. And so it's set up that way. It works very well.
So that would be 14 and up?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. What else? Any other questions? Any thoughts? Anything at all?
When you're moving, because since you just started a new crew and a lot of your people are in college, I have an assistant scoutmaster, or no, a junior scoutmaster who's moving over to my crew. Is he considered the youth once he gets to the crew? Is that where I put him in?
Yeah, so crew, there's some real specifics around ages and crew and how that works. There's really 3 profiles in a crew. So you have what's known as an adult leader, and that's anyone who's 21 and over registered as an adult leader. Okay, and that adult leader has to be registered and trained for an adult leader position, and that includes YPT and the background check and all that kind of stuff, right? And so then you have the age group between 18 and 21. Now those people are officially adults, right? So when you turn 18, you're officially an adult. But you need to be, you will be registered, or if you, that person can be registered as what's known as a venturing participant. So they're an adult, but they're a participant and they're part of the program. So the fees and the way that they behave all act like a member of the venturing crew, but all of their paperwork and all of the dynamics around that, like youth protection, as well as the background check and the application, is an adult application. So they pay adult fees and adult application and all that. And then anyone under 18 years of age is considered a youth participant in venturing, or a youth. And so they would pay youth fees and they have to meet the youth requirements and would fill out a youth application. So it gets a little complicated when you get to the venturing side of it. But once you understand it, it's not difficult. So
Yeah, it's just when I did the transfer paperwork to transfer him from another unit to my unit, they automatically put him in the adult, and I'm trying to still bring him back onto the youth participant side. And I didn't know.
yeah, so if he's aged out of a different, if the scout, I say he, it should just be a scout. If a scout has aged out of their current unit, whatever that might be, and they're over 18, they would enter into a crew, a venturing crew, as a adult participant, not an adult leader. And so they have to be registered as an adult and all the right paperwork.
Okay. Thanks.
And to make it a little more confusing, YPT gets even crazier because now they're 18. So you have to they have to sleep differently and they can't be alone with, 15-year-olds. It gets all crazy. So be sure that you're taking all the trainings on how to deal with venture crews, because venture crews have a lot more layers than the other units do.
Yeah. And you've also, now you've got mixed genders as well, which is not, it's not typical. It's mixed genders available at Cub, and that's got a set of rules. It's not, mixed genders is not part of Scouts BSA, but then when you get back to venturing and the older ages, now you're in mixed genders as well. So there's a whole thing you need to be aware of with respect to gender, in addition to everything Stephanie talked about with youth protection. So,
And even though they take youth protection from 18 until they turn 21, they don't count as 2-deep leadership. So you have to keep that in mind. So that's another tricky element too. So you have to treat them as an adult, but they don't count as an adult.
That's correct. So and they're considered participants. That's why it's called that way. They're participating in the program, so they can't really supervise, and you can't supervise till you're over 21. So
right. Well, even in a troop where we've got the unit College Scout Reserves where they're 18, but we can't send, we can't count them as our 2-deep. We have to have 2 adults plus our 18-year-old to take a scout to the bathroom.
I have a question. What about leaders that have been in the program for a while before IELTS? Are they required to still take the IELTS training?
if you're supposed to, if you're in a position that requires that training, you're supposed to take that training. And you will not be able to count that. You're not delivering the program if you're not taking the training. And probably not aware of all the safety and guidelines associated with conducting the best program you can, but you also won't get credit for it as part of your unit and part of the training associated with that. So if you're in that position, you're supposed to have had that training at some point.
Okay, because he was in it before the IELTS started.
if he's never had IELTS and he's in the position, he's supposed to have had that course.
Okay, because he's thinking that because he went through the indoor and outdoor training, that he could get by with that training.
I don't think there's any way to record that. So you really,
And scouting has changed.
yeah.
And scouting continues to change. And so that's why in weather hazards, you have to take every couple of years, and youth protection, you have to take every couple of years. And we only say you have to take IELTS once, but you need to make sure it's IELTS. Scouting changes on a regular basis, and our curriculum changes all the time. And
yeah, he went through Wood Badge and
well, we don't teach Wood Badge, so
yeah, they're a different set of skills. It's a different set of skills between Wood Badge and IELTS. So get that scout leader signed up.
How long have they been doing IELTS?
A long time.
longer than I've been in scouting.
The Cub program, the Cub program changed a few years ago. There used to be two separate courses for Cubs and Webelos, or Arrow of Light Scouts as they're now called. And that was a little confusing, I think, but they really simplified it and put it all into one program. So whether you're leading scouts, whether you're leading Cub Scouts or you're leading Arrow of Light Scouts, the outdoor training portion is blue. But IELTS, as far as I know, that's always been, for Scouts BSA and venturing crews, that's always been a requirement, as long as, probably 20 plus years, I'm going to guess. So
yeah, I don't think it's been that long. Yeah.
Okay, we'll get them in there now.
Yeah, who are you? iPad.
What else?
I was going to ask you if your crew had anything
Upcoming?
any events upcoming. Your crew.
We probably, we do have scheduled to go to the International Scout Camp in Switzerland next year, 2022, in June or July, I think. So that's on the books. So we're coming up on 12 months planning for that. And we've probably done about 30% of the planning associated with that, 40% of the planning. So there's people that have, the dynamics of people change from that standpoint, who's doing what, who's going. So we haven't really ramped that one up heavy, and that one is still subject to change. We thought we might be able to go in 21 when we looked at it in 20. And so it's certainly possible that we could still end up getting that one pushed out, but there's some planning going on with that one. We just participated in, it's called Pirates Venturing. It was over at Camp Rainy Mountain.
Right.
Went to that one. You were there for that one?
I was not there. How did it go?
I think it was good. I didn't attend. My scouts went. Both of my boys attended that particular one. I happen to know a couple of the scouts that the senior leaders in the venturing officers association who conducted that, and those are good scouts. And so my guys said they had an absolutely great time. There were a lot of fun games, and of course getting out in the woods and spending time with one another is always a lot of fun. So they did that. I know venturing is coming back, and there's a few more things. I don't know what the next one is, but I'm sure they'll be planning, because a venturing unit, for those guys to advance, the ones that are interested in advancing, you have to participate in, there's different tiers of adventure, if you will, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Going to Kandersteg is a tier 3 adventure, but you're supposed to conduct 1s and 2s. And so I know they want to do that, and that's an important part of them having a good time. So I don't know what the next one that they have planned is.
Okay.
It's an interesting dynamic. You're wearing green there, so the venturing scouts.
Right. And I know that one of the things we're encountering is that some of our crew is busy doing other things right now. So I'm kind of trying to plug in some of the other ones who still want to do some activities. So I'm looking around for other crews that are doing stuff, so I can say, look, if they're in our area, you want to go over, participate with this crew or that crew. So every time I get somebody who's doing crew activity, I always ask what you guys have on the books coming up. So I can kind of say, okay, this is a crew over in Marietta. If you guys don't mind driving over, you want to go to that, you can go
Yeah,
there.
shoot me an email and I'll definitely reach out to you when we get the next, we'll publish. And we have a website for that crew. It's Crew 2992, and they typically post the stuff on where they're headed
Okay.
on that. I'll send you a link to that website. If you'll just put your email in the chat, and I'll make sure I get it over to you.
All right.
All right, we got supposed to end up here about 11. We got about 15 minutes. I don't think we've had any new additions who've joined us in the last 5 or so minutes.
Lee, I will say this, that I've been doing the adult leader training at Burt Adams now since 2014. I have a nice curriculum there, I guess. It's been expanding over the years. Besides teaching adult leader training, both the first part of it and IELTS, the second part of it, I do committee training. I have done merit badge counselor training, several other courses. The hardest people to train are those people that are been in scouting for a long time, who think they do it their way and their way is the correct way. BSA has changed since 2000. This is not the same BSA from 2000 or beyond. Even in 2009, when they came out with the Guide to Advancement, things really have changed a lot. And since then, we've really been evolving over these last 10 years. It's a great course. It's interesting because even in the committee training, you find committee people who come in there and go, well, we're not doing that. Or you find troops that aren't boy led, and you find troops that are adult led, and you find adults who fight over the craziest things. But it's been the greatest experience that I've had since 2014 is teaching the classes. Now, did I have to modify IELTS to make it work in a 7-day or 6-day summer camp program? Yeah. And it does. It's a 2-hour course, for 4 days and an hour the last day. But all of those things do work. And I encourage all adults who come to camp to sign up for something and get away from their scouts, at least for 2 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's, when I first started scouting and would go to scout camp, there were, if you just take a few minutes and look, there's, even outside of aisles, they'll have water rescue for adults, and there's always something that you can take. I always had a goal every time I went to go to something, whether it was a 1-day thing or a 4-hour thing where you could learn. And that's the whole thing about scouting is, and it's a whole philosophy of life in scouting, is that we should all be learning. We should always be learning. And Scouts presents a great opportunity for that. And, to your point, one of the things I think that keeps the program strong is the willingness to take feedback and participate in feedback. And they do that at the highest level. They do that, at the district level, and they do it at the council level, and they do it at the national level. And they change these programs specifically based on that feedback. And they also changed the programs based on the dynamics of our society. When I first started, Scoutmaster was like, you can't have that electronic device. Well, Scouts was like, and we do need to have the right kind of balance, right? You want to try to keep that. The whole reason we want to get outdoors is to get away from some of that stuff. But if we never allow Scouts to have any of that, then they're going to turn away from the program. They're not going to accept the program. And so, using it in the right way, barcodes and, links and Zoom calls and video can really help with that. And in at the right time and the right setting, there's a place for using these handheld devices that everyone has. And so that's another perfect example around how, scouting grows and evolves. And so that's another reason why you want to make sure you're taking that IELTS class, so that, because it's not the same thing that it was 20 years ago. So
you got that orienteering class, but you can't even, and it's great to have electronic devices, but you can't do geocaching without a phone. You gotta have a phone to do geocaching, and we have that as a program. So
our troop, just last week, we have banned electronic devices because the parents are the problem. The kids go on a camp out and the parents are texting them every hour. How's it going? What are you doing? And the parents can't behave themselves. The scouts are fine. So, you know, it's the parents who've cost the scouts their electronic devices at our events for the foreseeable future. So,
Yeah.
Helicopters.
Yeah.
It's definitely a balance. It's definitely something to struggle with, and it does take some discipline to figure out how you do that. And I was really just using it as an example to show how scouting's always changing, and that's valuable to me, and the training's always changing. And so that's why, though it may not be required, there's nothing harmful about taking one of these again, or any of them, or refreshing yourself on any of them, because they do update them. And like Stephanie said, some of them, hazardous weather, that's every 2 years. We know YPT is every 2 years. It's not only to refresh yourself on what it is, but to also incorporate and make sure you see what those new changes are, because it's constant, it's dynamic. So any other thoughts? Or
Yeah, the proverbial question, and just if anybody has any new thoughts on it, where we've got the leaders that are partially trained and cannot get them off their arses to complete it, and they just don't care. And these days, and it's as much as you were just talking about the helicopter parents, but it's in that same mentality that so many of them, they want the title, but they don't want to do anything that goes along with it. And so that's one of the reasons you can see I keep my hair short, because I'd be pulling it out otherwise, and it's plenty gray and everything else here. But I'm out of ideas as to how to get these adults motivated to complete their training. And you know, the old answer of, well, you don't let them participate anymore. Sorry, that doesn't cut it, because all that does is hurt the kids. If I don't have enough adults to run an outing, we got to cancel the outing, and you know, it doesn't work. So anybody new thoughts on how to motivate these adults, because they just don't care anymore?
One of the things that we do in our troop is, if you're an adult trained and a trained adult leader, then you don't pay dues. Dues are free, and it works. You know, it's one way to motivate scouters into getting trained. All you have to do is be trained and be current, and you don't have to pay.
Well, historically, adults never paid any, but just the financial times of the way it is now, we had to have the adults start paying their way.
Well, we had that problem, but you know, we used to have a similar situation where the adults historically never paid. But going to the system of, if you can be an adult and you can be registered in a troop, but you're going to pay as long as you're not trained, and it seems to have been a motivating factor.
and do you pay for their training as well?
Part of it, not all of it. It depends. You know, but you know, the good thing about coming to summer camp, though, if you want to get trained at summer camp, it's free. There's no fees to that. Now, that's not wood badge and that's not powderhorn, but you know.
Yeah, we paid half of the adults for wood badge,
And
just like we do half of the youth for
right.
NYLT.
Yeah, it helps motivate them.
There are a lot of units that pay half of all the training, but they make the participant pay the leader pay the whole thing. And once they have completed it, then they turn around and reimburse them for half of it. So
That's
a
what
lot
we
of
do.
units do that. There are a lot of units also, because training is an issue everywhere. It's not just you, Kevin. I wish I could say, man, you have a terrible unit. What's wrong with you guys?
Oh, I know it is. Yeah,
It's everywhere. A lot of them have rules now that are some of the bigger troops saying you can sit on the committee until you decide you actually want to be an ASM, and it gets them motivated because the ASMs have way more fun, right? But you have to already have that established in your unit so that you have people there so you can go on campouts.
yeah,
So
you got to have enough backup to be able to
Yes.
cover that, which I don't.
Yeah, so that's a problem. It's a problem. So you can tell them how much fun it is. I promise it's fun. Another thing that we have been promising as council leaders is, if your district, all the districts are supposed to run these and COVID has totally shut down most of the districts. We're like the only people in town doing a lot of these trainings right now. But if you get a group together, a couple of us can come out and help you teach it. We're happy to do that. And I'm actually teaching a group in Virginia in a couple months because their whole council canceled all of their training for the year and they're freaking out. So that we're happy to come help if you can guarantee that you're going to have more than 5 people, because we have to travel, and do all that kind of thing.
Kevin, does your unit send folks do you send scouts to NYLT?
I can't even get the interest of them there. We don't take this wrong here, but I've got a bunch of, let's just say most of my kids right now are not terribly motivated to do much of anything.
Okay.
It
My
helps
unit,
if we get
we
some
were talking about,
NYLT kids to come and promote at your unit.
Actually, the last NYLT kid that I had internally, we had him talk to the kids. This has been a couple years ago. He did a great, energetic talk to them and everything else, and they just kind of, oh yeah, that's nice, fine, great.
That's sad.
well, I was just mentioning it because, my troop, not only adult leaders, we pay for their training. We also pay for the NYLT training. So you don't have to, we believe in that and are so committed to that. And once you bring that card back and you've completed it, then we reimburse you. Same kind of thing. The parents sign up and then we reimburse their particular scout account. So if that was an opportunity, that's a good way to begin that exercise, right? You say, okay, well, let's do this for the youth. And then, well, we should be doing that for the adult leaders as well. So but I understand some of the challenges that you have that can be difficult, but we reimburse for any training costs associated with our unit.
Hey, Kevin, are any of your guys trying to make Eagle?
Right now, we just had our last one go through. He's got his court of honor tomorrow. Then the rest of them are, well, the next highest one right now is a star. So it's going to be a while before we have anybody going up through Eagle. We've done pretty well. We've done quite well as far as that goes.
Are you having all your younger boys participate in the court of honor and all that kind of thing? And the parents stoked to get those boys to Eagle? And how fast are you moving them?
We move them at their pace. We do not coddle them. We do not take them by the hands, but we encourage them. I mean, they have 3 district Eagle chairs inside of the troop there. They've got all the motivation and the help that they need, but at the same time, we're not going to coddle them and we're not going to do it for them.
No, because the only reason I ask, because I know when the guys are working on a lot of different merit badges, that kind of creates some excitement in our troop from time to time, depending on what the badges might be, what the outing might be that's related to that.
So another training that we offer at council, it's supposed to be mostly unit led, but we've noticed that not a lot of units are doing it. And it's a requirement to go to NYLT, and it's ILST. And so we're running it as a council a couple times a year. And there's actually one in May, and it is youth from NYLT who teach these classes. So they're super fun and exciting. So that's what I was just thinking, Kevin, if you could get them to go there. It's free. It's here at the council. It's a good course, and maybe
that's an idea, because we've historically done ILST internally to the troop there, but having NYLT kids teach it, and that's a different tact there.
Yep. So if you're doing that's good. It's just, we were noticing people weren't doing it. So we had to figure out how to get kids to NYLT still. But if they don't, do they want to come teach with us? Maybe that would help too.
Well, Stephanie, you could do like I did to my youngest son. I drove him there to NYLT and told him to get out of the car. And he said he didn't want to be there. And I said, you don't have a choice. You're going to be here for a week. So get out of the car. And you know what? And then at the end of the week, he told me it was the best week of his life. So what do you say to that? Sometimes you just have to be hard about it. But
yeah, it sounds like a parent getting involved there. A parent.
It was. I was the committee chair.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to just tell them, be directive instead of being, asking them.
Margaret, I think, are you speaking?
I saw your lips moving.
There we go. No, there's something's afoot.
11 o'clock.
Oh.
That's it. Well, listen, I want to thank everyone for participating today, and really appreciate your interest in training, and carry it forward. And I will send out, I've got your information, and I will send out my presentation with that information. And don't hesitate to, it'll have my email on there. Don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions.
Thanks, Lee.
All right, guys. Have a
Appreciate it, folks.
great rest of the Saturday. So it's supposed to be nice out today. Get out and
Have a
enjoy it.
great day,
to
guys.
see you
Thanks for
again.
coming.
Thank y'all.